So you got some new glasses, or maybe you've had glasses for years. You should be wearing them most of the time. But does that mean they should be in your headshot too? Watch this video as we cover all things glasses as it relates to your headshot, including how we can deal with those pesky reflections. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Scott Lawrence, your Detroit-based headshot and portrait photographer, and I've seen and dealt with all sorts of glasses issues, so you're in good hands. For more tips around your headshot or personal branding session, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you'll be notified when new videos are released. I've got videos on posing, wardrobe, makeup tips, and even how to smile. If you caught my last few videos, you may have noticed I've been sporting some new glasses. Many years ago, I had LASIK surgery. My vision was fantastic for a couple of decades after. But as you've probably heard, your eyes tend to shift as you get a little older. Here I am with glasses again, and I figured it was worth making a video on a topic as it relates to photography. I've had these frames for a few months now, but I've only just started to wear them on camera. Functionally, glasses create four challenges when it comes to portraits. Glare, which is the reflection on the lens from the light, like you can see. Refraction, which is actually the distortion of your face behind the lens. There's shadows, which is just simply the frame blocking the light as the light's coming across. And then there's reduced light transmission, typically due to like a transition lens or a tinted lens, which just reduces the light through the lens, making your eyes look darker. So we'll dive into each of these points just a little bit deeper and cover the situation and how we can deal with it. So to jump in, let's talk about glare. The thing about glare is that it's more noticeable on you in your photo than it is to anybody else. Our brains are just used to seeing glare on windows and glasses. We tend to ignore it. As long as it's not out of control, it's not going to be a big deal, and it really won't be noticed by the people who view your image. You're thinking that's great and all, but how do we fix it? Sometimes it's just as simple as playing with the angles between the light, your lenses, and the camera lens. As you can see, I'm moving my head around here, and depending on the angle, the lenses are picking up the reflection. So for still photography, it's pretty straightforward. We can just change those angles and we'll usually get rid of most of the glare. Sometimes though, there are challenging lens shapes that I've found where sometimes the angles just aren't cutting it or you run out of angle. For those situations, we do break out Photoshop. As long as you can reduce the reflection while maintaining skin texture, you're good to go. If the glare is really bad though, we'll take a shot without your glasses like this, and then we basically paint back in your eyes without the lenses in front of them. This is a considerable edit. It takes a little time, but it does do the trick. Refraction. This too is more noticeable on your own image than you're probably going to see on anybody else. We try a similar approach. It's usually just about playing with angles so that the camera is not seeing the kind of the break from your face. So we'll see if you can. So my glasses aren't that strong, so it's not that big of a deal in these. Again, if we run into problems, we'll do kind of that similar Photoshop edit where we can paint back in your eyes or kind of change the size of your face underneath the lenses. So there's a lot that you can do, but again, don't get too hung up about this one. If you're working with a good photographer, the physics problems should be the least of your worries. My friend Tina Marie, she just owned her session, her glasses, and all the reflections and distortions that came with it. She even gave me a puzzled look when I mentioned the idea of doing a little retouching. This level of comfort when facing the camera is something we should all aspire to. When you can check your insecurities at the door, you're almost guaranteed to have a fantastic session with amazing, authentic results. And that's really the name of the game. Shadows. Again, a pretty straightforward fix, a little bit easier than the other ones actually. We can simply just brighten up your eyes underneath the lenses. So it's a pretty simple exposure change. Just remember that we don't want to completely eliminate the shadows kind of underneath and around your eyes because our faces have shape, and kind of eliminating shadows eliminates the perception of shape. So it's important that you need some shape in there too, or some shadow to show contour. And then we have the tinted or transition lenses. So I had transition lenses a long time ago when I wore glasses the first time, and I absolutely hated them. If you're not familiar with these lenses, they basically darken when they're exposed to UV light. So you run outside, and a few minutes later, you have sunglasses, in theory. In practice, though, I found that these lenses were always about 30 minutes behind whatever I was doing in life. I found that the transition process always took too long. It was slower even it was slower in winter, and they don't work at all in the car because your windshield has a UV filter. So, kind of useless there. Unfortunately, the technology just hasn't gotten any better. All the same problems are still there. So, my recommendation if you have transition lenses, it's just to leave them in a case when you come in or give yourself some extra time for them to change back before your session starts. Now that we've covered all the challenges and solutions around glasses, it's important to take a step back and talk about whether or not or why you should be wearing your glasses. My recommendation has always been that if people usually see you in your glasses, then you should strongly consider wearing them in your headshot. Otherwise, your headshot's just not going to be as recognizable as you from a glance, and that's really the whole point. There's no harm in shooting a few without your glasses as well. Removing the glasses is a quick and easy way to drastically change up your look without doing a clothing or hair change. And as I always like to remind my clients, in the studio, it's about collecting options for the final images. You don't really want to get in the habit of pre-editing what the camera sees because then you're just limiting the possibilities when you come to the editing process. An example is, sometimes people don't like their smiles or their straight face for whatever reason. So you either get a lot of forced smiles or forced kind of clenched serious faces. And if you can't mix things up a little bit, that makes it very difficult to get a full range of expressions, which is part of the idea behind a whole headshot session. You want a full range of possibilities and expressions. I hope this video gives you some context and how to think about glasses and reflections and challenges that they pose, and kind of a reminder of the big picture of really what it's all about in the first place. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe or share it with a friend too. If you're in the Detroit area and would like to book a session with me, you can do so right at scottlawrencephoto.com.